There are a bunch of documentaries on people climbing massive mountains. Mountains like Everest or Kilimanjaro or Mount Doom to destroy a powerful ring. That's a Lord of the Ring reference. So I like Lord of the Rings. One of the most recent ones that I've seen was Free Solo, where a guy climbed this 3,000-foot face of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park without a rope. Now, I don't know about you, but the hikes and climbs that I'm used to are usually pretty safe. The biggest risks are usually, I don't know, dehydration or maybe a twisted ankle, some blisters maybe, definitely sunburn. However, there are some hikes and climbs, like that of El Capitan, that require a whole lot more skill and preparation. And on these hikes, you might face dangers like really high heights, 3,000 feet, or dangerous terrain, loose rocks, or even bad weather making the rocks slippery. So what do we have in common with these daredevil mountain climbers? Well, just like some hikers who get a little careless and sometimes take unnecessary risks, we all stand a little bit too close to the edge sometimes. And whether that's in dating, or the stuff that we watch, or the words that we say, or the way that we behave, or even the mountains that we climb without a safety harness, we often push the boundary, asking, how far is too far? If you remember, James wrote a letter to help the Church of Jerusalem. They were trying to figure out how to live by God's law of love. Now let's look exactly at what James says this week.
But anyone who needs wisdom should ask God, whose very nature is to give to everyone without a second thought, without keeping score. Wisdom will certainly be given to those who ask. And whoever asks shouldn't hesitate. They should ask in faith, without doubting. Whoever doubts is like the surf of the sea, tossed and turned by the wind. And people like that should never imagine that they will receive anything from the Lord. They are double-minded, unstable in all their ways.
Wisdom. It's the ability to discern between right and wrong and everything in between. And in many situations, there's not always a clear right or wrong choice. Instead, we might have to choose between what's good and what's best, or what's fun and what's risky. So without wisdom, it's difficult to see the danger that we could potentially be bringing on ourselves and others around us. But with wisdom, we can. We can see danger ahead. We can avoid harmful situations before it's too late. We can learn how to escape an already messy situation. So how do we get some? How do we get some of this wisdom? Well, James' solution is pretty simple. He says all we have to do is just ask. But how do we ask God for wisdom? Do we just pray and wait for God's voice to answer us from the sky? Well, that's not really how God speaks most of the time. But when we ask God for wisdom, the answer to our prayer, it may come through people around us. You might find wisdom from a conversation with a friend or a teacher or parent or even a trusted adult. It might even come through a book, a movie, a song, or a speech. No one likes to experience failure or difficulty, but God can always redeem difficult situations by helping us gain wisdom through both success and failure. We can gain wisdom from history. We can learn a lot from people who have gone before us and pass down important lessons that they learned. We can also gain wisdom from Scripture, right? So what do we do about danger? Do we throw caution to the wind and do whatever we want? Well, no, that's what fools do, as we see in Scripture. And do we stay so far away from danger that we just never leave our rooms because we're so afraid of making a mistake? Also, no, that's not the kind of abundant life that God would want for us to live either. So just like dangerous climbs have safety mechanisms in place to keep hikers and climbers safe, There are ways that you and I can prepare and take precautions and create boundaries that keep us safe too. Like the hikers we talked about earlier, wisdom means maintaining boundaries, not to keep us caged, not to keep us caged in, but to keep us safe. The truth is, if you and I did whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, we would eventually make some pretty dangerous and damaging decisions. And that's why God offers us a little something called wisdom. It's not always easy to know what's wise, but like James says, if we need more wisdom, all we need to do is ask God for it. And remember, a wise person remembers that free people, they don't dance with danger.